Hello everyone, Darren here, and on today's episode we are going to look at how to play the Tier 10 Chinese heavy tank, the WZ-111 5A. This tank is viewed as the direct competitor to the Russian IS-7 and argued to be a much better alternative to the Russian counterpart. So in today's video, we will look at the armor, mobility, and gun of the WZ-111 5A. Then we will look at how to set up and play the 5A, and finally we will close with some gameplay. So let's get started. Now the armor of the WZ-111 5A is decent, with 300mm being the thickest on the tank around the front of the turret. Do note though that the turret is not like the IS-7 turret and does have weak spots scattered around the front of the tank, with the prominent cupolas on the top of the tank being the primary weak spots. Also note that the rear engine deck and the back of the turret, as well as the top of the turret, is large and weakly armored, meaning that it will be a nice target for artillery should you present them with an opportunity to shoot down on you. So make sure that you do not sit still or drive in a predictable path or pattern. For mobility on the WZ-111 5A, it is pretty good for a Tier 10 heavy tank at 50 km per hour forward speed. However, this is 9.6 km per hour slower than the IS-7, although if you need to reverse or get out of danger, you will have 15 km per hour reverse speed to contend with, which is also the same across both tanks, and more or less around the average for large tanks. Also, the fire chance of the 111 5A is surprisingly low at 12%. This means that with firefighting skills on your crew, you could potentially forego running fire extinguisher as a consumable. Now the gun. It is not bad by any means, but it is not worth talking about either. The gun has an accuracy of .39, which is on the high side of the spectrum, but it is also .01 lower than the IS-7's gun accuracy. And with a 11.12 second base reload time, you will have no problem out DPMing your direct competitor, the IS-7, which has a 13.7 second base reload. Aim time is almost 3 seconds though, so be aware that it will take longer to fully aim in. Now, how exactly do you set up the WZ-111 5A? In terms of consumables, I run 25 AP, 15 heat, and 0 HE because I personally do not like standard HE rounds. I also run a repair kit, first aid kit, and a fire extinguisher, even with the low fire chance because of my luck with artillery, and I personally hate having fires. But if your crew has firefighting skills, you could forgo the fire extinguisher and use food if you want. Now for equipment, I use gun rammer, vertical stabilizers, and vents to improve the gun performance. Of course, if view range is your preference, you can drop either vertical stabilizers or vents depending on whether you want a little extra gun performance or extra view range. Now, how do you play the WZ-111 5A? I have found that the best way to play the WZ-111 5A is to treat it similarly to the IS-7, as well as a better version of its Tier 9 little brother. While the 5A may not have much of an extreme pike nose like the IS-7, I have discovered that the 5A performs almost the exact same, if not better, than the IS-7 when it comes to brawling in close quarters, due to the fact that it also has heat as a premium round, in the event that you may need to use these rounds. The armor also feels very similar to the IS-7, as you are able to side scrape and bounce shots in most situations that an IS-7 could successfully side scrape and bounce shots in as well. That concludes the overview of the WZ-111 5A. Now let's take a look at some gameplay. Okay, so we are on Ghost Town in the WZ-111 5A. We are on Team Destruction. I also, while we are loading in, I'd like to ask that you disregard the Twitch overlay sort of thing. That's why I put my logo blocking my face in the top left-hand corner. There's nothing important up there, but this was the only way for me to be able to capture this game at the time. There is no game audio because I had to eliminate it because, again, this was taken from a live stream and I did not want to have my live stream voice talking while while I'm commentating on this game. Now, we're just starting, and when I looked, I saw that there was no one of super importance on the enemy team, so I didn't really worry too much about it. I didn't need to worry about focusing on any specific tanks. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to a spot that I would go to in my IS-7, which is right there on the E45 square corner section right there by the weirdly shaped block of buildings. I'm going over there because most of the time on the 5-6 line L building right there in between the 5-6 line, there always is a tank or a tank destroyer trying to brawl in that corner. So I went there right here to try and prevent the enemy team from setting up a stable defense to prevent us from holding this side of the compound to my right. So again, there's nothing going on right now. Me and this Object 277 are sitting here. But wait, the IS-4 pops up. I was ready for it, but RNG said no and decided to fling the round onto just the bottom part of the upper plate of the IS-4, thus bouncing the round. You saw my gun jiggle. I was pretty much complaining about that. I became fed up and I was like, I'm going to get in their face. I'm not going to sit here. So what do? Is I take the 5A and I begin to side scrape to try and brawl the IS-4. You see that I do bounce around off the side of my tank there. But the IS-4 blocks a shot on his lower plate from my gun as well. I get nudged and I still manage to block or absorb damage on the side of my tank. You can see that the side scraping is very effective. The TVP 5051 exposed the side of his tank, allowing me to get a shot in. Now, I was very confused what was going on here, and the IS-7 was actually doing a competition tactic, which is where you are side scraping off someone's side scraping, and it is a very effective tactic if done right, and he seemed to have been doing it pretty well. Now, I switched over. No, I didn't. I switched over back to focusing on the IS-4 and the tanks in front of me because I can't be looking what's behind me. And I managed to put a round in to and track the IS-4. I got scared a little bit with the Conway because I couldn't see what gun he had exactly. So I was kind of playing it, very carefully. But I managed to put a good shot into the Conway. I'm still absorbing the damage. You can see that the side armor of the 5A is very, very good. Now, I block or take another shot from the 5051. The Mauer Breaker is doing whatever the Mauer Breaker is doing. I think he just got fed up with life in the game. I don't know. He made a lot of mistakes there. The IS-7 is trying to side scrape. I'm trying to at least, take a shot for that. I got in his way, I won't lie, a little bit selfish of me, but at the same time, he kind of did just get in there, take his place, and block me from moving, preventing me from actually trying to get any damage. So I nudged him out of the way just a wee little bit, and put in a shot, then backed off and let him have the spot and started to try and work around him. Our IS-4 just stopped in the middle. Don't ever just stop in the middle of a path to get a shot off. Because then you hold up everyone behind you and you are going to get hit by tanks because they are not expecting you to stop. And then your gun bloom is just going to screw up right as you're about to fire. So don't ever just stop in the middle of a path. Now I take out the 5051 because I saw him moving and I was ready for him. I begin brawling with the 113. The 113 recently got buffed a little bit, so it's much better than what it was. But you can still see here that the armor is withstanding and holding up to all these rounds that I'm taking, and I'm able to dish out punishment without taking any in return. This tank is a lot better, in my opinion, than the actual IS-7. The IS-7 excels in some areas, I would say, that the 5A can't. But overall, in terms of combat and close quarters ability, I would almost straight up say that the 5A is a more mobile version of the IS-7. And I like that. I like mobility over some super heavy slow tank. Now, I was going to hit the 705A there, but I man, it was too late getting a shot. Machine here's just auto-aiming. Don't just auto-aim in a machine or any tank like that. You can clearly see he did absolutely nothing to me, and he's just going to get killed and destroyed. I turned my focus to the Jaegeru because I had teammates behind me that would go and deal with the machine, and I didn't really want to get shot in the back of the head with a massive gun that the Jaegeru has. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus. I put a side shot into him because he was focused on something else, and here I am still trying to get some shots, but he does get taken out by the my teammates. Now you can see here that I just became very, very selfish because I had a ton of hit points to just take. At this point, I just go in, shoot the Grill 15, and then I just ram him because, again, I have health. I did not care if I took a shot from the Grill, but I did. Didn't matter to me. I didn't die. And do note, I never touched my premium rounds in this game. This was all without premium rounds. And we had a very, very good game in the WZ-111 5A. You can see here by the results that I had over 7,000 damage accumulated throughout that game, and that includes the damage done and the assisted damage as well. But again, overall, a very good game showing the capabilities of the tank. That concludes today's video on the WZ-111 5A. I'd like to thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed the video, hit that thumbs up. And if you want to see more videos like this one, don't forget to subscribe. But until next time, this has been Darren of WoTC Academy.